You know, we talk about time all the time. We say it flows, it passes, we can run out of it. But what if time doesn't actually exist at all? In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into a single, really powerful paper that argues our most fundamental concept might just be a complete illusion, a mistake that's been baked into our language for centuries. Let's get right into it.
The paper we're digging into today kicks off with this quote from Descartes. And honestly, it's the perfect way to frame this journey. This isn't just some abstract academic exercise. It's about cleaning up our thinking to get rid of confusion at the deepest, most fundamental level of science and philosophy.
I mean, it's such an intuitive idea, right? We all say it. Time passes, it flows, we can't stop it. It's a powerful metaphor, and it's even in our science textbooks. It feels so real, so tangible.
But what if that river is a complete illusion? This is where we get to the core, the really provocative claim of this paper, that time, as some kind of flowing entity, is a cognitive and linguistic error that we've all been making for hundreds of years.
Okay, so to deconstruct this idea, we have to start with the most basic question of all. What are we actually talking about when we even use the word time?
And right here, this is where the problem starts. You would think that for a concept so central to physics, to everything, there would be a rigorous agreed-upon scientific definition. But there isn't. As the paper points out, science pretty much relies on the exact same vague, metaphorical language of flow that we all do. It's like a placeholder where a real understanding should be.
So how on earth did we get so confused? Well, the paper argues it's because the concept of time wasn't discovered, like a new planet. It was constructed piece by piece over human history. And, well, we kind of did it in the wrong order.
Our source paper traces this four-stage evolution. You know, it all started out super simple, just seeing events in sequence. This happened before that. Then we started using natural cycles, the seasons, the moon, to compare how long things took. This led to instruments like sundials, but, and this is a crucial point, people saw these devices as actually producing time. And the final step? We formed this abstract idea of time with a capital T, some invisible thing that clocks were supposedly measuring.
So here it is. This is the crucial error. We got it completely backwards. We invented the abstract idea of time as some kind of substance before we had a scientific explanation for what a clock was actually doing. We just assumed clocks were showing us time long before we understood they were really just tracking the Earth's rotation. And that early, mistaken assumption, it got baked right into our language and our thinking.
Okay, so if the old idea of time is a mess, what's the solution? Well, the paper proposes a brilliantly simple concept to replace it, something called the reference process.
Let's start with a really foundational truth. Whether you're measuring a table, weighing flour for a recipe, or timing a race, you're only ever doing one thing. You're comparing something to a standard. That's it. All measurement is just comparison.
And this is the core analogy. To measure length, you compare an object to a reference length, like a ruler. So it follows that to measure the duration of a process, you compare it to a reference process, a stable repeating motion. A clock, then, isn't some magic time viewer. It's just a device that reproduces that reference process for us.
And this is the big mental shift we have to make. We don't measure time. There is no time out there in the universe to be measured. Time is simply the numerical result you get after you do the comparison. It's the answer you get, not the thing you were asking about in the first place.
This gives us a really clear operational definition in just 3 steps. 1, pick a process you want to measure, say boiling an egg. 2, choose a stable, repeating reference process to compare it against, like the Earth's rotation or the ticking of a quartz crystal. 3, perform the comparison. The number you get, 3 minutes, 45 seconds, that number is what we've mistakenly been calling time.
All right, so with this new framework in place, we can finally put together a clear, rigorous, and scientific definition of time that gets rid of all that historical confusion.
Okay, I know, that is a mouthful, but don't let the academic language intimidate you. It's actually pretty straightforward. Time is just an idea, an abstraction in our minds. It comes from a reference process, and we get it by comparing the duration of something to that process. It's a definition based on the action of measuring.
To put it even more simply, time is a concept, a tool we use to quantify change. It is not a river. It is not a fourth dimension we're traveling through. And it is definitely not some fundamental cosmic substance. It's a very, very useful concept that we invented.
So you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat philosophical trick, but does it really matter? And the answer is a resounding yes. This redefinition has some really profound consequences.
For starters, that whole mysterious flow of time is revealed to be nothing more than a linguistic artifact, a trick of our language. Second, clocks are demystified. They aren't magic boxes, they just reproduce a reference process. This also tells us what makes a good clock: its stability. And finally, and this is a big one, it allows us to clean up our physical theories by removing the need to treat time as a real physical thing.
Ultimately, this whole project is really an exercise in good scientific hygiene. It perfectly follows a powerful philosophical tool known as Occam's razor, which has guided science for centuries.
The principle is actually really simple. Don't invent things you don't need. The more complicated your explanation is, the more likely it is to be wrong. By defining time based on the process of measurement, we've eliminated a mysterious, unnecessary entity, that flowing substance called time, and we've replaced it with a simple, clear process. And that brings us to our final thought. Deconstructing something as fundamental as time forces us to ask a deeply unsettling and honestly kind of exciting question. If we were so wrong about this, what other concepts that we just take for granted as fundamental parts of reality are actually just artifacts of our language and our history? What else do we need to redefine?